It is the start of the year, and I know a lot of us like to rethink about life and our choices and our strategy for money and life and all that stuff, our health, our money. And I wanted to chat in this episode about the thing that most people don't do. And a lot of people, when they want to set out and have a rock solid goal or something to aim towards, they don't achieve it because a couple of reasons. They didn't want it enough. They lose focus and look at shiny objects, or they don't get the progress close to the goal, and then that leads to wanting a different goal. And then they don't sacrifice anything. And one thing that comes to mind, and this episode did come about where I was finishing just this week, and we're recording this on the 7th of Jan, a chapter in the book that we're writing, The Quick Start Guide to Your First Property, about, and particularly with property, and I'm with John Pigeon here from the Property Podcast and this show. Hey, John.
Hi, Glenn.
There was someone, and I'll tell you later, that we were talking with last year. They went to your office for the first property event. We sent them to a mortgage broker, and they wanted to buy the property. And I know this person, they're in my world, and I follow them on Instagram, and they wanted to get a property and did the mortgage broker thing. Yeah, did the coaching thing. Yeah. Next minute I see we got the brand new ute. Probably was too hard. I'm going to scratch that itch for something, and I'm going to buy a ute. And the reason I talk about this is most people don't sacrifice enough to get to their goal or want that bad enough. So they get derailed and end up just spending the money on something else or not achieving that goal, going back to the bag of chips, delicious salt and vinegar chips, and a year later they don't have that property or don't have that thing because they got side railed.
I think part of me says they mustn't have wanted it bad enough. Yeah.
Or it was, this is too hard, I give up.
Yes, but you could also say, well, if they wanted it bad enough, then it doesn't become too hard.
True.
You know what I mean?
Well, two things can exist potentially.
Can.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that I always look at is if I look past that goal and say that I haven't achieved it, what does it make me feel? Or how does it make me feel? Right? And that's a driver to go and achieve it. And I think it's got to come from internal, doesn't it?
So I asked in our Facebook group, what have you had to sacrifice to achieve a financial goal? Now, I think a couple of things when we're looking at wanting to achieve something, and we'll just keep this to financial goal, you obviously need the rock solid goal. And that's over a period of time. It's been stewing in you. It's baked in. You need to get dogged. Dogged's a word, isn't it? I'm just going to... Definition of dogged, having or showing tenacity or persistence. Okay. You need to get so obsessed with this goal, but also to make that goal come at all or even come sooner, we may have to lay down something in our financial life. And that, my friend, is called sacrifice. So the purpose of this episode today is to full on give you an IV injection into ideas of things that you can sacrifice. And these are real life people from our Facebook group that have sacrificed real life things and have achieved a financial goal. If you want something over a period of time and you put time, energy, effort, financial means, you will achieve it. It's as simple as that. The old book that Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's kooky, but kind of works. What the mind can conceive or think of, believe, like rock solid, it can achieve. So your thing, what do you want in your life? How do you make it happen? But how do we make it happen sooner? And by making it happen sooner, we sacrifice. I've not seen an elite athlete ever achieve greatness without sacrificing something.
Correct. And you put it out to the universe too. Some way it has a way of rewarding you.
Yeah, I probably don't even believe in that crap, but
I knew you'd take that bait.
Well, this episode is brought to you by Sphere Home Loans. Maybe a home or an investment property is a financial goal in your life. And if it is, speak to Sphere Home Loans today and they can help you put together some type of savings plan and say, look, you got this much money. If you want to, you can probably borrow up to this amount based on your income, but you need this amount of deposit. Let's break it down, baby. You need to save $200 a fortnight for this long and you can get that house happening right now. It is possible. And they can keep you accountable. I dare say they'll probably hate me for this, but if you said to them, hey, broker, Sphere team, set a thing in your diary to email me every 3 months and ask me how my savings are going, I reckon they will do it because you need someone in your corner that keeps you accountable. But also, if you're not serious enough about wanting that goal, what are we doing here?
Don't do it.
Like, don't start.
No.
It's almost a similar thing, and actually we'll get into it right after this. Before we get into it, this show is general advice only, and I've got a license to provide that advice. Full details can be found in the show notes. I'm a former financial advisor. Now I do the Money, Money, Money podcast. If you're a regular here, we call it M3, and we do a podcast called Retire Right. I've got a book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, is available wherever good books are sold. There's a link in the show notes if you want to turn up your investing to 11 or if you're just getting started. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for being here today.
But don't live in regret.
But don't live in regret. Before that ad thing, I was about to say, when we talk about getting out of debt and getting our money in order, if you have not hit rock bottom, that you are sick of having a sloppy cash flow system, you're sick of having consumer debt, don't worry about paying it off. Because a lot of people will pay it off and just run back into the debt. Like, you have to get to this rock bottom. I have had enough of having payments. I've had enough of living week to week. I've had enough. If you are not at that rock bottom, don't waste your time listening to this episode. You can if you want. But don't waste your time about trying to do things if you don't want it bad enough.
But you don't have to hit rock bottom.
I just think it's a good place. What do you mean? Sorry.
Well, you're saying you've got to fail.
I mean rock bottom in my resolve that I am categorically had enough.
Yeah.
I am like, this is like, if I had a bucket of sand, I've had enough. It's fluid. It's like, no.
Yeah.
I've actually had enough. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
But if you're slapping
so the drive is high enough.
Yeah. Oh, I've had enough. Splash water, yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, don't bother. Just keep on living your crappy life.
Yeah, you should be a motivator.
What, telling people they've got a crappy life?
All
But
right.
we've all got parts of our life that are crap, so there's that.
Let's look at some sacrifices, shall we? Paul said, worked a FIFO job for a number of years, 28 days on, 7 days off in the dust and heat. Paid my mortgage off in that time. Now only work when I feel like it. Debt
Holy
free
dooly.
equals freedom. That is fantastic.
So the sacrifice Paul made, he did FIFO.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Heather.
And it's probably gone the extra level and actually done something with the money that he's been earning there.
Heather said, keeping up with friends and the perception that if I'm doing well, it should look a certain way. I also had to study 12 nights for 12 years while working full-time as a single mum to do that so we could get ahead, that's a lot of downtime sacrificed. Today, living in a half-renovated property whilst having funds invested in multiple reno-flip projects. Wow. It's all seasonal. The sooner you do it, the next season can arrive. Every sacrifice led to a new level.
Love it. Well done. Sam lived in a barn for 3 years, slept in the attic, which was hot as in summer and cold as in winter. Used to sleep wearing a beanie. Lol. It was so tiny and had zero storage, so my partner lived out of a suitcase. I had 4 drawers. He is over 6 foot tall and would constantly hit his head on the low ceilings, but it was rent-free. At the same time, my partner worked a second job and I started a side hustle growing flowers and worked a second job when I could. We were able to buy 2 investment properties and then moved out of a capital city to buy our principal place, which we have now been in for 1 year. One investment property has doubled in value and one increased by $80,000 in the first year. We now live in a house with storage and high ceilings. Still no aircon though. Thank goodness it worked out. That's sacrifice.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'll put my hand up first to say I'll sacrifice some things, but there's some things where I don't care enough to want to bring that goal sooner.
Yeah, well, and that's fine as well.
Yeah, I think it's just really knowing.
You didn't want it enough, Glenn. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, I can want it, but I'm happy if it takes a little bit longer. And
so you don't want it sooner. You're okay.
And actually, while we're on that, if you are new to our show, I've got a thing called the Glen James Spending Plan. And when it comes to our budget and money, in our personal finance, there are only 4 levers that we can pull with our money. So we've got money coming in, expenses, and hopefully savings. The first lever that we can pull is to increase income.
Yes.
So we might want to get a side hustle for a period of time, do overtime for a period of time. The second lever that we can pull in our budget, and this doesn't really have anything to do with goals because you really wouldn't want to be pulling this lever in this scenario, is decrease the amount that you're saving. So the reason why that could be a lever that you want to pull is over the next 6 months, I really want to watch Landman on Paramount. So I'm going to save $22 less a month to keep my lifestyle there. So I'm going to save less to have more money to feed into lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So that's a lever you can pull. The other lever that you can pull is every budget has a line item. So line item will take I love picking on subscriptions and gyms, but we'll go to the subscription service. I'm going to review the line item and not pay for Paramount, Stan, and Netflix, and just pay for Netflix and watch SBS and ABC iView. SBS has some good stuff. I'm watching Vigil at the moment, the 2nd season. Yeah. It's annoying. I wish I could pay to not have ads, but here we are. But you can review a line item. So it's like, yep, that line item of subscription, just going to review it, not paying for this and that. We'll just pick one and that's our sacrifice.
Yep.
The other lever that you can pull is to cut a line item out completely. Subscriptions, nah. And as Heather, I think, said, it's a season. So for this season, while we're so focused on really hitting our goal, we're cutting that line item out.
Yeah.
We're just not paying for subscriptions. So when it comes to the 4 levers that we pull with our budget, if we pull and this is, again, she said the good word for the season, if we pull the income of overtime, we push the income the other way of saving more, not decreasing saving. We pulled the lever of literally reviewing some line items because obviously some line items we can't we can review the food category. We can't cut that out. So it might be like we're going vegetarian for 6 months, not paying for steak.
Go on a fast.
Meat, whatever. And then we're cutting out something completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing that for 6 months or 12 months. That is how we're going to get some structural vibes in our life to really turn things up. The problem with side hustles and overtime and all that, you need to really have your budget and spending plan set up in a way that money is going towards the goal And that goal could be, I want to pay off my debt. That goal could be, I want to pay off personal loan. That goal could be, I want to save for this. That goal could be, I want to buy an investment property and I need to save more. The minute that you use overtime or side hustle to put that money into your lifestyle, like, oh, we're increasing our income because we want to keep Stan and Paramount, you get stuck on this income train.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that any side hustles, the money can be plugged in and turned on and turned off.
Yeah. So many people say they're motivated by saving once they've got a goal out there, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I would ask everybody, what is your current goal? Now, if you've just achieved a big goal, so I've achieved a big goal in the last couple of years.
What was that?
You're sitting in it. Yeah. I think it was around 250 grand to deck out downstairs and the upstairs studio. I cash flowed it. There was a heap of stuff that I didn't buy in the business, didn't take them income home. We're sitting in this building. And, at the end of last year, we finished the second studio in the office. I think that was close to 100 grand. Didn't use debt for it. Now, I've just come out of this huge, intense period of achieving a financial goal. If you said to me, Glenn, what's your financial goal at the moment? I'm like, friggin' hell, can you back off for a second?
Yeah.
I just need to.
I want 12 months off.
Can I just chill for a bit? So my question is, if you haven't had a financial goal in your life or a goal, what can your goal be this year? And that's a question.
It's a good question.
Do you think we always need one though?
I don't think some are built to just be motivated to achieve things.
Yeah. I think that's kind of me, but it is kind of an internal goal, right?
Well, yes, but I think we've got to, as I said, we're all built differently and we need to tell ourselves what we want to achieve, and some of us will go about it organically and subconsciously just go and achieve it, where others will have to diligently write it down, tell people, put it up on the back of the toilet door and just live and breathe it to be able to stay motivated and keep on track. So I think understanding your own personality is important.
So I don't know. I just really wanted to touch on that because we are talking about financial goals where we can only really play with these budget levers.
Yeah.
There is, I think, but then it's not a P&L lever because the stuff that I'm talking about here is the profit and loss lever. So that could be, and in business terms, income, less expenses. There is another lever that you can pull that isn't on the P&L, and that's the balance sheet. Yeah. Well, we've got 70 grand worth of shares. We want to do a $10,000 holiday. We're taking the view that we want to keep the P&L status quo. The portfolio is done well. It's not we're going to sell some assets to use for this goal.
And I think on that, you've got to have your guardrails, don't you?
Yeah.
So that 10K holiday can't be now a 15K holiday when you're halfway through it.
Yeah.
You've just got to have those parameters that you guide by, that you agree on before you actually do it.
Yeah. Did I tell you I'm going on a holiday next week?
Well, it doesn't surprise me.
It was random.
I saw the episodes got deleted from the calendar, so I presume there was some sort of sabbatical.
No, my sister and her husband are taking the kids on a cruise.
Nice.
And at Christmas, they were down here and they told me, I'm like, oh, you know what?
Whereabouts?
It's just 6 nights from Brisbane.
Did you invite yourself?
Yeah. I'll come. Goes to Early Beach, Cairns, out to the island. It's just 6 nights. So.
Yeah, nice.
And that's one of my goals this year is to live a bit more.
Yeah.
Intentionally, enjoy life.
As in live longer? Or just...
No, I'm here for a short time, baby. One of my goals, I was talking to someone yesterday, I want to be more intentional with enjoying life.
Give
not
example.
Not just build.
Yeah, have some fun.
Like last couple of years, it's been this studio and build.
Yeah.
And part of that, at the end of the last year, if you listen to us regularly, one of the last episodes that we were recording, I had just commenced weaning off some antidepressants because when I was in the UK and Europe in September last year, I felt just wasn't enjoying it. I think there was some blunting going on. So one of my goals this year is to kind of re-tap into this part of life where it isn't just about earning lots of money and building stuff in the business, but to enjoy, like,
look at you,
live life, John.
Yeah, good on you.
Because my personality, and this will resonate with a lot of people, I endure life. I don't live it.
Right.
And that's just a natural proclivity. It's like, got to do it. So
it's all a hassle.
Yeah, but it's not because I've anyway, that's kind of back to the cricket.
What is the cricket?
Let's have a look. Worked back to this is Orange Blueberry. Worked back to back with my partner for 6 years and paid our mortgage off in just over 8 years. This saved on childcare fees until the kids reached school age. This saved on child. What does that mean? Whatever. No longer back to back, but we always work overtime and are about to pay off one investment property in a few months and the other investment property next year. It was hard AF, but it definitely paid off.
Amazing effort.
Awesome, but be like me and maybe chill out a little bit.
Well,
I mean, do what you want, but that's...
But I think that's an example of some people would look at that and be in envy. Others would look at that and say, I don't want to put myself through that in that short term. But they've decided intently to go and do that, and they're going to reap the rewards for the next 20 years on that.
Yeah, and you just do the hard yards early or as soon as possible. And I did that with, starting my first business, and there was a heap of sacrifice and hell to do that. And also with, as part of this property book that we're writing, we've been working on it this week. The first property, if you want to buy your first property, that's always the hardest because the initial equity injection has to come from your trading of time and money, which is work. And because we did a whole bit about equity in the intro chapter, because I basically spent all day working just on the intro chapter because I wanted it to be like punchy. And we talked about equity and explaining what that was. And the first is always the hardest because that equity is coming from you most of the time, for most of us.
Yeah.
We've got to sacrifice, earn, and really build that equity. And then once that's in, you've got an asset that's in a market, and the equity, you're not doing the building of the equity. It's on autopilot.
Yeah.
But the hardest is always first. Relaxing nectarine. You can read this one, Johnson.
Years of going without holidays, eating out, and many other wants, but absolutely worth the pain to be mortgage-free at 45.
Jeez.
That is outstanding. I still live on a strict budget, but instead of paying 60% of income into mortgage, that money goes into ETFs and holiday funds. Looting, baby.
So if you are new to our world, loot is my vibe, life on own terms. Why would you want to do anything else in life other than live life on your own terms?
Well, it's a no-brainer, but a lot of people aren't.
Elegant Zebra. Gave up a permanent job I enjoyed to become a contractor and earn almost 100K more a year. So far, it's paying off financially, helping pay down the large mortgage. Sacrificing the perks and security of permanent was a big decision, and still unknown how long it will play out in terms of family planning, holiday stress, etc. Look, this is an interesting point here, John, and it talks about risk and reward. We know that if you take on more risk, there is a chance, not certainty, that the reward will be higher. So the risk that this person has taken on gave up the security of permanent work, took a risk, and is now printing money. And there's a trade-off. You live by the sword, you die by the sword, and that risk doesn't have to be forever. So my challenge to people listening, maybe, and we called the episode, what do we call the episode? We don't really know yet, but it's around most people don't do this, is the kind of working title at the moment. Most people don't take the smallest amount of risk. So my challenge is maybe one of your goals this year is identify something that is considered relatively risky to you and maybe seeing how we can operate in that and because risk is like a muscle, you kind of get used to it. How do we, and interestingly enough, I received a message in Instagram this morning. I gave a book, Sort Your Career Out, and Brittany, who I gave it to, she read this. She wrote me a message. I met her at a conference last year, and young professional. I just finished your career book, Sort Your Career Out. Oh, amazing. So very influential for young professionals. And I love that it went through the whole job process from interview to exit. It's actually divine timing because I got this book when I did because I have a review in a week and my boss and I feel so prepared. And I feel so prepared to discuss performance and all that. And I replied back to her that in that book, Sort Your Career Out and Make More Money, chapter 4, I think it is, on risk, is the most favorite chapter I've ever written in any book. Because risk isn't just financial and risk is also relative to your situation. So what I want to really encourage people is this year, and I did a whole risk spectrum in that book. Some people are at the stage where calling in sick, even when they are sick, is a risk that they're not prepared to do, even though they're entitled to. Asking your boss, hey, I just need to duck away half hour early today. I've got a medical appointment. Can I work back? Even that, and for me in my world, that sits really at the bottom as but for some people that's perceived as a high risk. So my question is, can you identify a risk in your life, even if it's non-financial at work, asking the boss, hey, can I sit down and discuss something with you? That's very risky for a lot of people, where if one of my team members said, can I sit down and discuss something with you? I'm like, yeah, all right, sweet. I don't reach under the desk and press the big bell this person's taking a big risk and it's going to fail and they're going to lose their job. So
yeah, they got to train it.
Maybe when we say most people don't do this, is most people don't take risks.
Yeah, and you can't just jump a risk scale, can you?
No, you can't be. You're not going to be like, I'm scared to ask for a sick day even though I can barely breathe. You're not going to next day go, I'm starting my own business.
No.
There is a scale. So let's have a look here. What did Joe say, or Daniel?
So we've got Daniel saying alcohol. Not sure I'd call that a sacrifice. It's been amazing. Saved heaps, and obviously not drinking a lot can only be a good thing. It's a tough one for a lot of people.
Joe said, for 2026, I'm doing a no-spend year on clothes to pump my travel fund.
That's good.
And that's also, again, it's a sacrifice to achieve a result.
Carly, I've sacrificed my horses for the last 9 years.
Nay.
While we have positioned ourselves to buy our own acreage, which means I'll never have to pay agistment or travel just to ride again. That is a great feeling, I'm sure.
There's a common theme here. If you want results, you must sacrifice. Lisa Marie Presley. Reduction in aesthetic stuff like hair and makeup. No more Uber Eats at all. Drinking on or nights out to a bare minimum, if at all. Modify family days to free beach events and picnics, or free events, beaches and picnics. Spend more time at home. Reduce/stop using Afterpay. Meal plan and shop accordingly. Sacrifice, yes, but this is the real world. I'd go harder if I had to. I still feel pretty privileged to have the life I have to still make gains to my goals of an early retirement.
Cool.
And that's a good segue into something I'm going to ask John right after this.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. But if you want guidance tailored to your situation, head to moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help. We'll connect you with one of our trusted professionals, financial advisors and mortgage brokers, who work with people right across Australia. No matter where you are, they can help. Now, before we get back to the show, a quick reminder to protect your financial life. That means having income protection sorted. It means having death cover if there's any debt or dependents relying on you. It means getting your personal insurance in order. Most people insure their car, they insure their house, but what about themselves? Sky Wealth, who support this podcast, are specialist financial advisors who can help you get the right cover in place. Their advice is often more comprehensive and better value than going direct through your super. Book a complimentary 15-minute chat at sky.com.au. That's skye.com.au, and they'll point you in the right direction.
Okay, we are back. John, I want to talk to you being my spiritual advisor.
Yes.
One thing, and this is just top of mind for me writing this property book, where we talk about we want to set the goal to buy the first house, we want to set the goal to do this, and you might be full on locked in and dialed in. Now, imagine so you ride a bike, you were saying that you ride a road bike and all that stuff.
Yes.
Now, would it be harder to ride that bike and achieve your health goals if I tied a 50-kilo trailer to it?
Definitely.
It would be hard.
Definitely.
But not impossible.
Not impossible.
Just be really hard to achieve because you'd have to work harder.
Yeah.
There'd be a higher chance of giving up.
Yeah, my legs would get sore.
All
I'd
that
get
stuff.
thirsty.
So one thing I kind of mentioned in the book, you could be full on wanting to buy your first home to live in or an investment property, like full on. You might have a partner who's just not there.
A trailer.
Could be a trailer. Now, I don't know if it'll make the book or not because the editing layer does quite well, but I was kind of the view that when you've got a big goal like that, that's going to take some sacrifice, commitment, both on the same page. I mean, if you don't have kids and the relationship isn't that old, is that a flashpoint to say, what are we doing here?
When the partner's not on board?
Yeah, and I'm not saying if your partner isn't on board, piss them off and upgrade. I'm saying if your partner isn't on board with something that you really want to do that would benefit the greater good,
Yeah.
there has to be some type of discussion. And I think I mentioned, maybe a flashpoint for marriage or relationship counselling.
Yeah.
And before you go on a rant as my spiritual advisor, I think it is important that you have your own goals.
Yeah.
They have their own goals, but we've got joint goals because we're not F-buddies renting together.
No.
It's a partnership, right?
Well,
I mean, a lot of people
depends on
live
what the
like that.
situation is, right? But I think
it's not John and Amy's house, but
it's part of the greater conversation, isn't it? So I think if it's important to one person but not as important to the other, is it a showstopper for the other? Or is it just, oh yeah, I'm not really fussed, but let's go and do it anyway? Or is it, no, I actually really don't want that. So now that's a problem. Because if one person really wants it and the other person really doesn't, where's the middle point there?
yeah.
So I think we have to go deep into conversation to say, well, what do we want?
But I think it's more in the vibe of if we want to achieve something and we want it sooner or at all, a sacrifice might need to be made. And if a sacrifice might need to be made of we have to not spend $100 a week on breakfast
Yeah.
at the club or pub or whatever cafe where you go for breakfast, if the other person doesn't want to make those sacrifices, you're going to be in a world of pain pretty fast.
Gotcha. Yeah. There's going to be some regret. And that might mean it's the feather brick truck, isn't it? It's like, well, the truck might be, we're just actually not suited for each other, period. Like we're going in our separate ways. So that's what it might come to as a last resort. And that's actually okay. I think, what do you want on your tombstone? Like you don't want to look back saying, well, bless you, I had this situation where I could have done that, but my partner was holding me back. I really wanted to do this with my life, but I didn't. Now I'm in regret.
Yeah. So maybe a goal for the new year is to have some chats with your spouse or partner and be like, all right, well, let's think of some goals. I want you to do your own goals. I want to do my own goals. Do we have a joint goal? Use it as a flashpoint to put some, because I'm such a fitness freak, obviously, putting pressure and strain on muscles is good for it.
Yeah. I actually listened to yours and
with
Nathan's
Nathan.
conversation. Yeah.
What'd you think about
First podcast I've listened to for 2026.
Yeah. It had a good result.
Yeah.
We got a lot of feedback. That was episode, if you want to go back, episode 901, how to actually achieve your goals, money, investing, and health.
Yeah, because I met him at the show, so I was quite interested. So I'm going to go one step further on that because I'm just thinking about if Amy and myself, and I don't want to air dirty laundry on the podcast, but
you
she doesn't listen.
Okay.
It's like if one of us had a strong enough goal and it was not logical, but it was passionate, we had enough of a passion towards it, I don't think either of us would hold the other person back.
No, because that's like you understand in your relationship, if you had a goal of wanting to buy that new bike and it was really important to you, she gets that because she gets you and understands it.
So, and
but that's not to say she would never be able to focus on her goals as a couple.
No, that's right. After mine, of course, but no. But when we've got joint goals, that's where they might differ and there might have to be some give and take. And if someone's not prepared to give or take, that's when there's conflict. And that's when we might realise we're not going into counselling territory, but that's where some people might say, well, actually we're not aligned, only on this, but a number of things.
My comments are more like if you're relatively new into a relationship, you might be living together or not, and it might be less than 3 or 4 years, and there's no kids on the table, like physically yet, it's a good time to go, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
It's different. Chats. Like you've got kids, established family. If you guys have a fundamental misalignment on something, it's not, all right, see ya, I'm out. There's bigger things at play. But if you're new to a relationship, I think it's just a good thing to ask your partner, what's important to you in life? Do you have any financial goals? If we do want to do this as a goal, are you prepared to, with me, sacrifice something for us to achieve this?
Yeah, and the key is us.
Yeah.
Right? If we're not aligned, then
Yes. Interesting. Diane Smith, what is up? She said my sanity. She sacrificed her sanity. Emerald Tiger said, went without a car for over a year to get out of debt and save hard for a property deposit. See,
well done.
That's the freaking sacrifice that I'm talking about.
That and case in point, last night I'm having a chat with my eldest about this first car of his, and he's got to make sacrifices. He wasn't up for those sacrifices.
Really?
I'm like, mate, and like, oh, you're too hard on him. No, I'm not too hard on him because if you don't sacrifice something, you don't get the reward at the end and you don't appreciate it. So well done, Emerald Tiger.
Yep. Grace, hello Grace, fellow New Castrian. No, Castrian. Grace lives in Newey.
Does she?
Pretty sure. Moved back in with my folks for a year at 30, both a privilege and a sacrifice to save for a house deposit. Working nights and overtime, sacrificing sleep and health, not buying anything new or not needed, including coffee, out to prioritise shares. A short time and worth it to get ahead or catch up in the long term.
Megan, time at home with my kids when they were 6 months and 2.5 when I became a single mum. Worked full-time for 3 years to be able to buy a house, just sold it for almost double what I paid, and now work part-time and can do school drop-off and pick up. Hard to miss those early years when the kids were so young, but so glad we get to spend more time together now. That's what it's
And
about.
we all say it together out loud. If we sacrifice, we can win faster.
Yeah. Lindsay. Sadly, I think it was part of my overall health. Ate a lot of poor quality food and even skipped the odd meal for a long time when still going backwards financially and being time poor, even after cutting back on everything and using the little bit of savings to cover the difference. Didn't take on any consumer debt, even when I felt like I was missing out on a lot. Life was just more expensive than the money coming in for a time. We sorted out now. It was a bit of a rough bit, but it was a bit rough looking back on it.
Scenic Goose. I went back to brunette and cut all beauty costs. Coffees to buy my first property. It's now worth 3 times, so the sacrifice was worth it. Some of those costs, I think, to go to your blonde specialist or whatever to keep blonde, it could be $300 a pop.
I know.
Probably more. I got no idea.
Yeah.
Chris, when we were in the hard run-up, within 9 months trying to buy a place, I locked down a lot of spending. One of my mates still talks about one example, which was not going to Not Fest, missing out on such a great gig to get a loan. Should have gone, but you know life. I've done that one. Alan sacrificed salary. What? Uber Eats. That's okay. Kate, that's a quick win.
Yeah,
and
easy.
This is more of a reminder that things can slowly creep in. So it started to creep in here at work a little bit, particularly the end of last year. We were really busy pumping heaps of content and recording, and I'm like, I'll just get Porto Uber Eated or get something brought up from Excess Espresso down the road. And yeah, it really, that did creep in when I made a solemn vow with myself that I would not use those services. But when you look at it and you're like, I can't be bothered driving down there. Okay, it's only $5.
It's a hassle.
And it just creeps in.
So you do it once and it's allowed.
So just check yourself of what financial habits have crept in.
Yep. Nathan's buying a classic car. Arguably they're going up in value, but anyway.
No, he sacrificed buying a classic car.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he went and bought it. Anyway.
Maybe.
Green Poodle.
Going on holidays. Rebecca, I bought my house in my 20s instead of extensive traveling like my friends. Okay, this is a really interesting one. I think it is one of those things, just do what you want as long as you take action and do something. If you're on the fence, buy an asset because you can travel later. What do you think? If your kids in their early 20s were like, I want to save up and go overseas, or Dad, should I just buy a property? Like, what do you tell them?
I'd say try and do both. Yeah.
Okay.
Ideally the asset first. I was lucky enough to do it and then travel. But, could we find a way to do both? Like, could we rent it out? Like, that's, I don't know. I've always been in the opinion of bite off a bit more.
Then you can chew. Yeah, I talk about that in that property book that we're writing. And sorry, I keep saying this, just all this stuff's top of mind, everyone. That in my life, a little bit of financial stress is good for me.
Yeah. Get you to perform.
Just get you up, a bit of hunger. It's like those who start a business and aren't hungry for work, they don't end up being good business people generally. But a bit of hunger gives you a bit of drive.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. Nicole, a house cleaner and online shopping. I used to, and I've got to contact them to give me my key back. But I haven't had a housekeeper cleaner come in since before I went overseas.
Yeah.
I just do it myself now. It's not.
You got the time.
I got the time, and the apartment Believe it or not, it's not that big. And the only reason I was having them come in was because every fortnight it made me pick up all the crap off the floor.
Clean before the cleaner.
But one thing I did as well, we have these mental hurdles in our mind that aren't really a thing in reality.
Yeah.
So, for example, and people might resonate with this and they might not. They might think I'm a piece of crap, and that's fine. But my dishwasher will get to the stage where the dishwasher's full, can't be bothered emptying it, so I just put the dirty dishes in the sink. And it's like, and then you get the sinks full of dirty dishes. And then once I put the dirty dishes in with the clean, I just ran it again.
Oh, no.
But what I did, because like, I don't want to unpack the dishwasher, too much work, or I don't want to put the washing away. I timed it, how long it took to unpack the dishwasher. It was less than 2 minutes.
Oh, well, we live separate lives.
We do.
Carolina, fun and travels. Immigrant from a developing company, had to travel, study.
Country, not company.
Country. I had to travel to study and spend my money in courses and visas, focus on building a career here, not being able to leave jobs to enjoy some travelling, but all worth it. Could have been way worse.
Kelsey said, the financial goal was getting into the housing market. I sacrificed work-life balance to get there, worked 2 jobs, one being in youth residential care, so there was shift loadings and sleepovers. Moved in with the parents for a bit, then I moved in with my partner and his housemate to reduce costs. Fast forward now and we have moved into a new build.
Well done.
There you go.
Yeah,
Simple.
it's great.
Sacrifice something and you win. Sacrifice something, you get something sooner than later.
Yeah, it's delayed gratification. Yolanda, same thing, living in a big city, Sydney, near close old friends and my awesome nieces and great food, all so I could have lower rent, save a deposit, and eventually bought a home to live in.
Look, lots there. We might leave it there. Jump into the Facebook group. If you do jump into the Facebook group and you are not a member and it asks, where did you hear about this group, please put you heard Glen and John on episode 903b on the podcast. You can just search sacrifice. You'll see my post pop up. I'll know that you're not spam if you reference the actual episode title. But I think the message I want to get across today, if you want something, you will need to sacrifice if you want it sooner or at all. And the sacrifice doesn't need to be forever. Final thoughts.
Look, I echo those thoughts.
All right,
to be honest.
bye.
Yeah, you've got to get your hands dirty and sacrifice something, and start with the lowest things that you're prepared to sacrifice and
Low-hanging
work
fruit.
your way up. Yeah. And
it's that muscle, isn't it?
Okay, that's an easy sacrifice. I'll get rid of that. Now I'm feeling motivated. Go the next level up. And then all of a sudden it becomes motivating because that goal is becoming closer and closer and you're there.
Yeah.
And
so,
as I said, out to the universe and it will reward you.
Rightio. Good for you, bro. Look, if you've enjoyed that, again, weird. But if you think it was valuable and could be valuable for someone else, please forward it to a friend or family member. And if you are watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments, what have you sacrificed to win? And I'll be able to read that and reply to you. So thank you so much. My name is Glen James, and this was
John Pigeon.
on
Money, money, money.
Bye.
Any advice is general financial advice only, which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the Product Disclosure Statement, PDS, and Target Market Determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glen James are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds financial services license 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.